Good morning, and thank you for being here today. My name is Marilyn Monroe. My birth name is Norma Jean Mortensen. I was born June 1st, 1926. I didn't have the greatest childhood. I lived in 11 different foster homes. For 2 years, I lived in an orphanage. For 4 years, I lived with a guardian, and my mother was sent to an asylum. But even with all that, when I was a kid, sitting in the front row at the movie theaters on a Saturday afternoon, I would think how wonderful it would be to be an actress. And everything that I would see, and I wanted to know that I would live to be a good actress. And I did. By 1952, I was the most talked about actress in the world. I'd become a global figure in show business. I was the era's sex symbol. I had a lot of help from my dear friend, Johnny Hyde, who was the best talent agent of the time. I loved him dearly. He was a very influential man who knew a lot of people, and he helped launch my career. And well, fame is fickle. It had its compensation, but it also had its drawbacks. When I was alive, Dr. Ralph Greenson was my psychiatrist. He helped me as much as he could, and I became quite close with him and his family. They tried to give me a little bit of what I missed as a child. In my life, I had 2 marriages. The first was with Joe DiMaggio, a baseball hero. He knew some things about me and I knew some things about him, and so we got married. It only lasted for 9 months. He became possessive. He didn't like the attention I was getting, and he would beat me. We divorced in October of 1954. My second marriage was in June 1956 with Arthur Miller. He was a playwright. Around this time, I had founded Marilyn Monroe Productions. We went to London for one of our films. It was a big deal. While there, I found letters that he wrote. He called me a whore and that I was like his last wife and not what he wanted. But I loved him. I wanted children with him. In our marriage, I had 2 miscarriages, and eventually we divorced in January of 1961. I'd been declining for a while, and my mental health had taken a toll. I was late to sets. I was not the best. And eventually, I had to spend 4 days at a clinic for treatment of my abuse of sleeping pills. I was deeply emotionally distressed even after leaving the clinic. I wanted to be loved, to have a family, and I never quite got that. But I did think I was loved for a while, and then I realized I was just being used, specifically by the Kennedys. The president and his brother Bobby and I spent quite a lot of time together. They shared a lot with me, and maybe too much. Eventually, they cut me out of their life, and I was distraught. And some would say that it was the beginning of my end. 1962, August 5th, I was found dead in my home. My death had been claimed as suicide, but it isn't quite that simple. I was found at 3 a.m., but no one really knows what happened to me between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. August 4th, that evening, I saw Bobby Kennedy. We had a huge argument. He was talking about how he loved me, but I was at my wit's end, and I knew that they were just using me. So I called the White House, and I told them to leave me alone. Later, I was found in my room comatose, and an ambulance picked me up, and I died on the way to the hospital. And then they turned around and brought me back to my house and laid me on my bed to be found at 3 a.m. So the rest of the world was told that I died by suicide and that the phone was off the line and there were sleeping pills next to my bed. Pretty cut and dry. All while the FBI was clearing my house of everything that could connect me to the Kennedys. And the only picture that remains of me and the president is the one on his birthday. I'm open for questions. Yes?
You rose to stardom, first starting wanting to be an actress, but then you became the ultimate sex symbol of the entire generation. How hard was that battling the worldwide fame of being a sex symbol as opposed to being a legitimate actress?
It was difficult at times. Some of you may know I wore a potato sack as a dress to prove that anything could look beautiful. Yes?
Do you think the media paints you as some kind of mythical, tragic figure rather than the full-fledged woman that you actually are?
I think sometimes I feel like a lot out there is very sad when there are good moments of my life that I loved all the things I acted in, and I wish they talked about those a little bit more. Yes.
Do you really feel like the media and society paints your death as accurate as they should? Because word on the street is you didn't actually kill yourself. You were killed because you moved so much on Academy Affairs.
Yes. I think a lot of people don't want to talk about what happened to me. I think they want to paint a good picture that it was just sad, when in reality I did know a lot and I probably did know too much, and nobody wants to talk about why. Yes.
If you could go back in time to your childhood, knowing what you know about how your life turned out and what would come of you if you continued, or if you went down the same path, would you still pursue acting, or would you maybe go down a different path?
I think I would still pursue acting. I think as a child, movies was my getaway from life. And then to be able to be an actress and be something for other people. Yes.
So, there's a saying that if you want to get a good man, you have to have a good father figure in your life in order to be able to find a good man. Do you think if you had a good father figure, you would have been able to avoid those abusive men in your life?
I think so. I think that's something I always wanted, a good father figure. I think that's why the men that I chose were much, much older than I was. So.
And that's about all the time we have, Marilyn.
Thank you.